Hi, my name is Beth Robinson. I am the Director of Member Services with Goodwin House at Home. The thing that I remember most about September 11th, there are a few things actually. I will always remember the year because I was in school at Howard that year and had just had a child. So my daughter was about 6 months old when that day occurred. The thing that I remember about that actual day is that I was running late to class. And as I crossed over into the district, I noticed lots of fire engines passing by, um, just a lot of smoke, and almost an eerie sense because there was no traffic, and we all know what traffic looks like on I-66, but there was no traffic. Earlier that morning, I remember talking with my husband. He was active duty Army at that time, and he let me know that he was going to a meeting at the Pentagon and that he would talk to me a little bit later. His office was actually just across the street from Goodwin House Bailey's at Skyline, but lots of meetings at the Pentagon. So on the way into the district, I remember just a sense of not only the eerie feeling with no traffic and not knowing what was going on, but actually hearing on the radio that the world was under, the United States was under attack. And so I first thought about my daughter and my son, who was in elementary school, and how would I get back to get to them. The second thought is, where is my husband? So I continued to call and call and call, and I never could get him by phone. And so I remember calling my son's school and letting his teacher know that I did not know where my husband was, and calling the babysitter and letting her know that I had no idea where my husband was. So managed to make it probably 2 or 3 hours later, turn around, head back to where we lived at that time was in Herndon, and about 3 hours later, making it out of DC, heading back towards Herndon. The entire time continuing to call my husband. And so on the way to Howard was the eerie feeling, but on the way home was the fear of what happened to my husband. So in calling the school, just hoping that they had heard from him, no one had heard from him. So of course it kicks into that grief of, how do I tell kids and that dad's not coming home today, and the spiral and just lots of different emotions. So I managed to get back home, continued to call, listening to the news, and probably later that day, around 4, I got a call from my son's teacher saying that my husband had actually come to the school to pick up our son. And so the beginning of the eerie feeling into the fear and the grief turned out into something that I think was really funny, in asking him why he chose to go to the school to pick up our son instead of letting me know he was okay. And so he actually got a call at the last minute on his way to the Pentagon office, definitely the place that got hit. He got a last minute call that they were going to postpone the meeting to a little bit later in the day because there was a previous meeting. And so he never left the Pentagon, or never left Skyline to head to the Pentagon. But he said that he did not want our son to know, that he wanted him to know first that he was actually okay. So just a lot of emotions with that day, and still a lot of emotions that are associated with it. I think it was just totally a shock that, as a country that is, prides itself on being so advanced and so number one, that the humble feelings that occurred to know that something so tragic could happen to what is supposed to be the greatest in the world. And so I think it was truly a learning experience. I think the time afterwards, things that we've taken for granted, we now have a better appreciation of. Definitely going to the airport, and the procedures for the airport are always a reminder to me of what happened that day. So I think we've learned as a nation, we've learned a lot about respect, honoring, loving others, and not taking things for granted.